Good Merlinpine, everybody. Today is August 1st, and we're discussing government and security stories to share with your friends. And as the first one, we have some important news. And that's why I'm wearing this prop.
Really? Because I thought
You just wore it all the
made
time.
a new fashion choice.
Whistleblower tells Congress the U.S. is concealing multi-decade program that captures UFOs. What are your thoughts, feelings?
I want to believe.
Yeah, like the poster from X-Files. I also want to believe. I don't know that I...
Now we've heard this before, obviously. This guy's giving us some new information. He's saying that he was given the job of like sort of going in and finding all the programs and figuring out like auditing things.
Right.
And he was told this program was above his pay grade. He could not find out about it. But that it had to do with recovering these kinds of things. And then we also get the bombshell non-human pilots.
Well, non-human biologics, which could mean anything? Is it a plant? Is it a fungus?
Maybe it's
a
just
slice of pizza that got blown up in the cockpit?
could be the toilet that they left
the septic
behind
tank.
when they jettisoned and took their escape pods back to their home planet. And they're like, yeah, just let that go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not... I mean, I don't know. I just don't know if I trust this just yet until we see more evidence beyond, no, trust me, bro.
Also, you kind of just barreled into that. We should mention that Wendell's out this week.
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
He's on assignment. He's teaching the new government of Niger about end-to-end encryption.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's with our new alien overlords. He is actually up above, but north, as in Canada. He's
Not
at
as in
LTX.
heaven.
Yeah, no, yeah, not like, no, he's in Canada. I don't
Much
think
different than
Canada's
heaven.
heaven, yeah.
Yes. So government news, and that was the big story, but could that have possibly been a distraction? It seems like they're hitting this every couple of weeks now, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's legit, or maybe it's just another way to get more funding for the Department of Defense.
I think they're good on funding, actually.
Yeah.
They kind of just get whatever they want. Also, does that fall in? I guess it would fall under defense.
Well, he claims that, there's secret programs that the Defense Department is keeping from Congress. So, I don't know. I don't
So
know.
who's in charge?
Yeah, who knows?
That's the best question, right? If this is above everyone's pay grade, who knows and who doesn't? You think they would trust Joe Biden with that?
No.
No, they would never trust Donald Trump with that.
No, absolutely not.
No.
But also, like, the Congress critters, like, how many of them, as soon as they see any kind of information, are they going to tweet it? Like,
I don't know. I mean, they've kept some secrets. They're a special type of person. And it takes a special type of person to make this argument, which is, that whole Fourth Amendment thing. Yeah, we don't like that.
This is a very small headline. Court says it's fine for cops to use cell phones to peep into people's cars.
I forgot that you're blind.
That's not that bad. It's just, this whole website is just very small.
TechDirt does go for a small font.
Yeah.
So at first when I read this, I thought, oh, I bet they're turning the camera on and like putting it in weird places. But no, that's not what happened. Tinted windows. And because Apple's iPhone camera is so good and so good at automatically adjusting for light levels, you can hold it up to a tinted window and it can see perfectly inside the car. So this fella had some drugs.
I thought it was guns. I thought he had a couple guns just stuffed between the seats.
Also had guns.
Yeah.
And also a little bit of cash. I think like 30 grand in cash. So he, having dangerously dark tinted windows, figured, that's fine if I just leave this on the passenger seat.
Which is crazy to me because, like, sometimes I'll just have something small with me. Like, I'll have my iPad or something and I'm like, let me hide this as well as I can so no one can see it if they happen to pass by. And this guy's, let me just leave guns in the seat, cash. That's crazy.
In that neighborhood, people probably know who he is and not to steal from him.
Maybe.
But the argument here is interesting because the old law is a cop has to be able to see it as if a regular person standing there could see it, right? So when they pass, cops are like, oh, we'd like to use thermal imaging on the highways. And the court said, no, the average person doesn't have thermal imaging.
Yeah.
But this court said the average person does have a smartphone.
Well, and this car was also parked in public. I don't know. It's hard to know. I don't like the cops. But I mean, if you just leave it out like that, I don't know.
I don't think this guy was doing anything good for the community.
No.
So in this case, it's good, but that's how you get.
That's how they get it,
things.
right?
Just be careful. Hide everything in your car. And don't trust tinted windows because they will not save you from anything. Actually, they'll get you pulled over.
Yeah.
And we have some bad news this week. The Protect the Children, we've got the COPPA 2 and KOSA. You call it KOSA or KOSA?
KOSA.
Those are...
Is KOSA okay?
They're not exactly back. They never went anywhere. But they did get a groundswell of support recently. And everybody on the privacy end was like, what?
Excuse me?
What kind of idiot thinks it's a good idea? Apparently some people are revising those thoughts.
Influencers starting to realize how the Kids Online Safety Act will do real damage.
So if you don't remember this one, this basically requires that someone prove that they are not a child before using a website. How do you do that? Well, so far we don't have a good answer, but it seems like driver's license on file, just like the cryptocurrency.
Just to access the internet. Like,
right.
That's crazy.
Well, to post.
Yeah.
So if you want to get on Facebook, if you want to get on Twitter, whatever, you have to give them your driver's license. They have to hold it on file, and they have to authenticate against you actually being who you say you are.
The term anon, when just like talking to people in forums, will never be a thing again if we do that.
This fella is some kind of popular TikToker, I guess, and he's just figured it out. However, they point out that this guy is really in bed with the White House and has been there several times supporting some of their policies. So, yeah, maybe you're part of the problem, friend. And we get a little bit more information about that here.
Senate panel advances bills to childproof the internet.
So,
critics say there are still problems to work out before they're ever made law. Gee.
Big problems.
Yeah.
But they have gotten through the Senate, which is not a good sign. And it was pretty overwhelming. Not many voted against it.
Well, because it looks terrible on a voting record. It's like, oh, I didn't protect the children.
A lot of people speaking out against it. Net Choice here made a statement about, yeah, it's a violation of free speech. And children should have privacy too. Imagine that. And, the powers that be, they want total control. They want to enforce all these laws, but it's weird because when they get involved in a situation, when they can benefit from it, they tend to not do that.
U.S. authorities drop charges against SBF involving campaign finance funds. That blew me away.
Now, the explanation here has something to do with the Bahamas.
Oh, yeah, something about a treaty they had. And I was like, since when does the U.S. honor treaties?
Yeah, what's that got to do with anything about our campaign finance laws? I read it twice, and I still don't understand why the Bahamas would care. Maybe the Bahamas also got lobbied.
I know the Bahamas are usually like a tax haven, like for the music industry. A lot of people record in the Bahamas.
Well, what's that got to do with?
But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what the connection is there. I don't know if there's something they've run through the Bahamas for banking here, but...
That won't save him, but it will probably prevent some unfortunate questions about where all that money went. And
it's in the Bahamas, bro. You can't do anything.
It's in Washington. But more importantly, it'll probably get rid of requests to give it back. Because it was stolen after all. And taking possession of stolen property, I think there's a crime there, right?
You would think.
And we do not just get more rules for our children, we get more rules for our investors.
U.S. SEC adopts new cyber rule, unveils brokerage AI proposal. This was a continuation from the story last week, correct?
Well, we now know that you must report cyber incidents within 4 days. And the brokerage stuff is that whether or not AI can trade. They also gave some, I don't know if we did a different story, but they also gave some more rules about cryptocurrency, tokens, and that kind of thing. Actually, I do think that's in here somewhere.
Oh.
And it's amazing to think about, even here in central Kentucky, where there's not a lot of infrastructure.
No.
And it's not in good shape. And, monopolies like everywhere else, I'm still able to get like 1.5 gigabit. It just blows my mind. I never thought we'd reach this point. But in some places in the U.S., they have in fact not reached this point, and they are far, far worse off.
FCC chair, speed standard isn't good enough anymore.
So 25 down and 3 up. It's pretty stingy.
Yeah.
They want to go 100, which is still...
Let's just keep throwing money at these ISPs, because maybe this time they'll do what they said.
I think they probably wouldn't need money for this, right? They could flip a switch in most cases, and this would just be better.
No, they'll use it as an excuse to get money, though. They'll be like, oh, we don't have the infrastructure in place for that.
The capacity is there, and we have other countries that we can look at who have similar infrastructure. It's not exactly the same. Ours might be a little older in some cases, but they're having great speeds. They're dealing with it. And we also don't seem to be replacing any of the infrastructure. So
people on my road, like the internet basically ends near our house, and then like the road continues for a while, and people down the road from me are using Starlink because there's no other internet options.
you should set up, you know how when you have a dry county and a wet county, there's always
the internet line. There should be.
No, there's a liquor store there that's like last chance.
Oh yeah.
You should start a little service where they can come over and use your internet.
Last chance to get your internet.
And then you get arrested because of the traffic that they're moving over your internet.
There should be a sign there, like, you know, sometimes it'll be like road ends or something like that, but it's like internet ends past this point.
No civilization
Yeah.
at this point. And this has been a long time coming. However, it has not quite come yet. It is being teased, but not officially announced. However, we probably know pretty much everything we need to know about it at this point.
FTC readies lawsuit that could break up Amazon. This person was like a Lena Khan fanboy in the description. They're like, this could define her legacy.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I was like, okay. I mean, it's exciting that they're getting broken up potentially, but let's calm it down a little.
Not that she keeps getting smacked down in court time after time. That's not her legacy. It's this one. This is, they got a lot of things to go after Amazon for, but mostly this is about the third-party sellers and the data and the visibility of items and stuff like that, which they seem to be incredibly guilty on.
Yeah, I would feel like that would be an airtight case, but who knows?
I've also got several EU countries doing similar things, which, you can just copy-paste, right?
They email another to, hey, can I borrow some of your homework? I won't copy it. I'll change it a little bit.
Worst case, you break them up. Amazon becomes a bunch of different little companies. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. I wonder what would happen to Twitch in that case, because don't they operate Twitch at a loss?
They would definitely spin Twitch off. They'd probably sell it.
Yeah. Who could afford it, though?
I'm sure somebody would grab that up. Microsoft.
Elon Musk.
And yeah, this is the thing I was talking about. The SEC, they also introduced this crypto bill, which a lot of the crypto people had said, hey, why don't you just make some rules? Why don't you just tell us what the rules are when it comes to tokens and all that stuff? And they're like, yeah, we don't feel like it. But now they've finally done it.
Crypto bill passes congressional committee in victory for the industry.
Of course, that is once again just the congressional part. Not even the vote, right? Just the committee. So it's got a way to go. But not as far to go as the child bills. And Binance, remember Binance, they suffered from the FTX collapse because it seemed like they too might have been doing some of those nasty things. And they got sued. And now they're saying, we've looked at the paperwork and we are innocent, bro.
Binance says it intends to file motion to dismiss CFTC complaint. Does that surprise anybody? I mean, of course they're going to say they're innocent.
It's going to be interesting how the new rules reflect on them.
Ooh. Whenever the new rules actually come through.
I mean, we've seen previews of it, so they can maybe extrapolate somewhat from that. Although that did happen before that existed, so you can't apply.
Yeah, retroactively.
It's interesting. We'll follow it. And we heard a lot last week about lithium. I don't think this is the same one.
No,
right?
the other one that we talked about was in Maine.
Well, there's 3. There's the one that you can see from space. Remember that one?
But that was used by NASA, I think.
Right. And then there's one that was Native American, right?
They did. I think they did take that one.
But that might be this one. I'm not sure. But then there's also the one in Maine. Anyway, None of them happening right now.
U.S. pull plug on authorization for lithium exploration next to a national wildlife refuge in Nevada.
In part thanks to these little fellas, who this is their expression when they found out that the mine was coming in. So,
Excuse me? What's going to be in my water?
they and some other critters in this area are endangered, and it is believed that the lithium mine would destroy the groundwater and pretty much guaranteed kill them.
It's also, I mean, I know that they're focusing on the animals in this, but I was kind of like, leaching into the groundwater, isn't that bad for everybody? Like,
But we only care about the animals.
yeah.
The horrible thing here is that the Bureau of Land Management approved this back earlier in the year. So you can imagine these guys were buying equipment and like working and setting up plans, and then they were just like, "Oh, sorry, we made
We didn't actually do that wildlife impact study that we were supposed to do. Sorry about that."
The Devil's Hole pupfish. Oh, it's on the rebound.
That's actually just dating again. It had a really bad breakup earlier this year. It's hard to date when you can't see because you're in a cavern all the time.
Now, New York has lots of rules about you can't use AI for job applications. You can't use AI tracking in your store surveillance. There's one other AI law, right? I think the cops can't use it in like drones and stuff.
Well, they're trying to get rid of that one, right? Because they want to do emergency drones.
But they are still abusing it in every possible conceivable way that they can squeeze in between those cracks. And this one is particularly nasty.
New York police use AI to track drivers on highways as attorney questions legality.
Now, you might be thinking, well, you're on the highway. You have no reasonable
Privacy expectation.
expectation of privacy. So how is this so bad? But it's not just that. See, what they're doing is that they're tracking everything that you do, and that's not going to save you. Mm-hmm. You have to put that around your license plate.
Oh, you talking about this?
Yeah.
I can feel like when I push it down, I can feel like the heat radiating back. I'm like slowly cooking my brain.
It's like a very good insulator, yeah.
Like a baked potato right now.
That's the idea. So they will just watch your trips over and over. The fella in question here was coming from, Delaware, I think. He was making the same trip predictably, which is not a smart idea, and every week going to a known drug area and doing it, like in a way that raised a little suspicions. So they pulled him over. Sure enough, drugs and guns. The problem is that's parallel construction, right? They pulled him over for reckless driving. He probably wasn't driving recklessly. If you've got cocaine in the car, you probably keep it between the lines, don't you think?
Unless you're on cocaine, I guess.
They also did not reveal this in discovery. They said this had nothing to do with the arrest. They had to do a freedom of information request against some other stuff, and they found out this giant network is used, and they do this all the time. They use AI to identify what they think is drug trafficking behavior and then proactively make police stops.
What if you're just a bad driver? What if you just like to hang out in places that sell drugs?
Oh, it's not about being a bad driver. It's about where you're going.
Yeah.
And how often you're going there. So that should be terribly illegal. The unfortunate thing here is they were right.
Yeah. Well, and my thing is I'm kind of a little confused. I mean, I guess AI, you can get more people, but like, couldn't you do the same thing with just normal police work?
No, because it's all... like he was coming from Delaware, remember?
Oh, right. So they couldn't send someone over, yeah.
It's all shared. So the AI is actually pulling data from a ton of locations. And they admit that they moved them. Because he tried to get the locations of the plate readers. And they were like, we won't give you that, but we can tell you that they're never the same place twice. So there's a big program. There's tax dollars going and just moving these things around to surveil. So you can't get used to it.
Imagine the guy who has that job and you always know like, oh, I need to slow down in this section because I'll get a ticket.
I can't imagine that, Krista, because I would be dead if I were that person. And not to be outdone, Santa Monica
is the one I was thinking of.
Doing something here. And this they've found a reason to use it that isn't terrible, but that's not going to be where it stops.
Santa Monica tests AI cameras for parking tickets. So people tend to park in like bus stops apparently, and then the bus can't pull over to pick people up.
Oh, bus lanes.
Yeah.
So they have lanes just for buses. You're not allowed to drive in them, but people pull over and leave their car running there while they run inside to do something. That is behavior that should be punished. Absolutely. People that park in the fire lane at the grocery store.
When I used to work at a grocery store, we had the little fire lane, and it was also the spot where you brought the carts in. People would park there all the time, and then I couldn't get the carts in, and they'd be like, "There's no carts in the store," and it's like, "Well, there's idiots parked there. Sorry."
It's just, it shows such a everything is about you. Right?
Yeah.
Like I can do this because I'm just running it for a minute, and I'm not going to think about any other human being. So that's awful. But you better believe that these buses. Now the idea here is you put the camera on the bus, and the bus
Takes a snapshot.
Well, it's video, and using AI automatically writes the ticket. So it sees the license plate, it determines that the crime has been committed, and that goes through some paperwork, and you get a ticket in the mail with a picture of you parked in the bus lane. But I'm sure they will do it for other things as well. And really, KTLA was really championing this.
The whole like auto sends you a photo of yourself in the thing. It reminds me of some of the toll bridges.
Right.
Once you go a little north, it's really weird to see that. It's like, oh, hey, there's my car on this date driving through here. Let me
Red
pay
light
this.
cameras as well.
Yeah.
The same thing. Well, we did get a little bit more information about the FTX case. In this case, not Sam Bankman-Fried or any of the people that we're aware of, but instead his brother, who was given a nice little cherry of a job lobbying for FTX and paid a lot of money. And he also had some very strange ideas about what to do with his riches.
FTX lobbyists tried to buy Pacific island of Nauru to create a new superspecies, lawsuit says. So I guess prepping in bunkers is like a hobby for these crazy rich people. But they don't seem to actually have any skills, so they just want to build these places and then ship food in.
Yeah, well, see, the thing about it is, Krista, they also didn't have any skills when it came to building a cryptocurrency. So that's not surprising, right? But yeah, he wanted to build a doomsday bunker, and this was for, when the proletariat turns against the billionaires. Any day now, guys.
Come on.
But it didn't get off the ground, and it seemed like the people of Nauru did not want to be displaced for any amount of money.
Well, I have so many logistical questions, because I understand wanting to be, quote, self-sufficient, but like you picked a very isolated island. It's going to be hard to get stuff shipped there. If a hurricane comes, you've knocked out everything. Like, what's his plan? And the answer is there isn't one. It's just let me throw money at the problem.
Yeah. I mean, if you could do renewable power, you could probably subsist there.
For a while. I mean, eventually you're going to have to get replacement parts, but...
Maybe that would give you the time to build primitive technology to replace it. I don't know.
His super species of children would be able to do that, I guess.
What? Yeah, but then also like the whole repopulate the earth thing. I think the minimum number is what, like 1,500 to not go into a genetic spiral.
Weird, yeah.
I don't think they thought it that far through. I think they were, like doing their drugs and orgies, and they were like, it'd be cool
if we had a place to do this all the time.
They had unlimited money, so it's like, dude, you should do that. And taxes on streaming services. I don't think Kentucky taxes streaming. They might.
I don't think so.
You ever look at your itemized bill?
No, I should.
I thought the joke was there was going to be like, I don't pay the bill.
No, I pay the bill.
Oh, wow. The people are leeching off of you?
Oh, for one service. That's the thing, is each household pays for one service, and then we all just incestually share them.
So terrorism is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, some states already do this, but no one does it and gives it back to the people.
Massachusetts lawmakers considered a tax on streaming services to help fund public access media.
Now, this is public access as in a television channel. But who is watching that? You watch public access?
I watch, what's the difference between public access and public broadcast? That was a question I had reading this. Is there a difference?
Talking about like PBS?
Yeah, I'm thinking like PBS stuff.
PBS is, no. Public access is, PBS is state funded, But public access is where you can just go. There's a physical location somewhere with a studio. And as a citizen, you can be like, I want studio time.
Oh,
I want to create something.
interesting.
So
I do watch some of our like really hyper local news stations because all the bigger ones don't really cover the news in little communities. So
I know that movie references are a lost cause with you, but Wayne's World. Wayne's World was based on them doing a public access TV show. Just blank.
Yeah, void face, no thoughts. Well, I have thoughts, but they're being shielded from you by the tinfoil.
Well, the tinfoil might help you if you find yourself in a nasty lithium fire.
FDNY Commissioner Laura Kavanagh testifies before Congress on dangers of lithium-ion battery fires. There's some lovely videos in here.
So this is mostly about the scooters. Oh, look at that.
Ooh, they go up so quick.
And violently.
Yeah.
And they don't go out. So, yeah, a lot of scooters in New York. I think it's one of the most congested electric scooter places in the world. And people park them indoors at night. There are shops that deal with these batteries, and these shops can have thousands of batteries in them, which statistically
Eventually, one's going to go up, right?
makes them kind of a ticking time bomb. So they're saying that they don't want these even in the city. The most extreme people are like, no scooters anywhere around. It's a terrible fire risk. I don't know.
Is there anything? Yeah, is there anything you can do to prevent that, or like, is there maintenance that needs to be done, or?
I think what causes it is when the battery is damaged enough that one of the contacts gets into another piece of material. So I don't know how you'd prevent that. Like more shielding?
I guess, yeah. There's the city near us. It has scooters, and they're usually just left all over the sidewalk.
I haven't seen too many fire.
There's been none around us, but
Problem with that though is no matter how much you protect it, if there's an accident, it's going to breach that battery.
yeah.
And then you've got yourself a nice little fire there. Moving over to Europe, they are doing the exact same thing that everybody else is doing, of course. They are throwing money at the chips, and they have now decided a number.
European Council Greenlights Chips Act, $47 billion for semiconductor industry.
It's kind of the same story we're doing.
Yeah. I wonder, how do they determine what countries get them?
You have to apply. You have to have some kind of plan. Like
Whoever has the best plan.
Right, I'm going to build this, and I want this tax break, and we're going to do this for you, and blah blah blah. Which every giant chip maker is furiously working through the weekend to get the proposal in there first.
Yeah. Rip their weekend.
The FDA used to do it so that whoever got the first application in got 6 months of generic drugs at a higher price, and they would literally, the parking lot they would camp in the parking lot like Black Monday.
And just wait it out, yeah.
Yeah, they'll try to be, and then there was fist fights on the morning that it opened for the day of the deadline.
Wow.
They had to change the rules.
Who could have foreseen that big problem?
And the EU is also doing some more electric chargers.
This is kind of cool. EU passes law to blanket highways with fast EV chargers by the end of 2025. What's cool about this is they also said, it could be anyone, but you can't like gatekeep it behind an app.
And a subscription.
Right.
Imagine
It
how
has to be
disgusting
open to
that would
anybody.
be.
Yeah,
Like,
imagine if you had to go to like a BP.
gas station subscriptions has to be something they've considered, right?
Yeah, can you imagine? I was going to get gas here, but this town doesn't have my subscription gas.
They kind of do that with the reward programs.
But you're not beholden to that, I guess. But
you're saving money, so you're it makes sense to go to the right one. Or like a bank where it's like, oh, I got to pay a $5 ATM fee. Come on. So here you go. 10T road networks, which I guess are all of these that are colored.
I assume this is kind of like their interstate, but it's interstate with a capital S.
Intra-state, since there are several of them. Every 37 miles, you will get a EV charger along these routes.
There's a big gap there in the yellow section. Like, does no one want to go to more places in those areas? I guess it's more rural. I guess it's true of like Scandinavia as well.
Could just be places where people don't live, like the desert.
Rural. Yeah.
And Microsoft Teams continues to be a bit of a problem. People don't like that it is included by default because Microsoft has done this kind of thing before.
EU opens antitrust probe into Microsoft over Teams bundling. They bundled Teams and everything, mostly Office, I think, is what they're addressing here.
Slack is upset. They're saying they can't compete because Windows users, if it's already there and it works, they're not going to try to look at an alternative, which is probably true on some level.
I mean, we use it. I don't love Teams.
So terrible. So unreliable. But over in Germany, I guess they'll be getting some of those EV chargers. And for once, after a decade, we can go online and look at them.
Google Street View is back in Germany after 10+ year halt.
What's interesting is Germany didn't want Google doing this for privacy reasons, and they couldn't agree on it. And they've now agreed on it. And so immediately we're getting some German street views, but you're like, wait a minute, how did they get it so quickly? Well, it turns out they did it in 2022. So they didn't publish it, but they were still going.
You know, I was thinking about it. I don't think I've ever had a GeoGuessr round that was in Germany. Maybe I just luck of the draw. I never got one in Germany, but.
Do they only use Google data?
I think so.
Wow, that's a pretty good indication of why. Now you can. How exciting. Are you good at that?
No, not really.
I've never tried.
I enjoy it, but it's difficult. There's certain things you start to look for, like signs and stuff, and trying to figure out what language, and like certain vegetation. It's like, okay, I'm close to the equator, but then you have to figure out from there.
It's good deductive reasoning, but it's not the kind of deductive reasoning I'll ever really need in my real life, right?
I'm probably not. No.
Well, but what if the aliens invade
and they just body switch everybody,
or they destroy humanity, but they abduct some of us and then they drop us back off wherever, and I've got to try to last man on Earth it in a foreign land.
You get dropped on that island, Nauru or whatever. Oh no.
And Norway, we heard about them last week, but this week we've got some bad news from them. Norway
government ministries hit by cyber attack. This is didn't that have something to do with gasoline or fuel? That's what I remember reading.
It was a third party.
Yeah. They said that they have patched it, but
not all of the government agencies used the same service, and the other ones didn't get affected, so they knew what it was pretty quickly. But they didn't give too many details. They say it was a criminal pro-Russian group, which is kind of boilerplate when something like this happens. And Unesco has decided that they know what's best for everybody, and we must follow their rules.
Put learners first. UNESCO calls for global ban on smartphones in schools. I mean, I kind of get it.
That makes
fair enough.
I mean, there's some good points about smartphones not being great in schools or anywhere for that matter. I don't know that they're necessarily good for us, but here's a crazy idea. What if we just let the schools decide?
At least from people I know who've been teachers, they say it can be really, really frustrating when you're trying to teach a lesson and there's kids constantly like pulling out phones and you have to take it away for a little bit. Then another kid has their phone, you have to pull it out. Someone's phone that you put away starts to buzz and you have to like go in and silence it. And so you're spending half the period just dealing with phone issues.
It sucks that Wendell's not here today because he would for sure be playing with his phone right now.
Yeah, we could make a joke about that.
Wherever he is, I bet he's playing with his phone.
Almost certainly.
And over in Russia, when they're not hacking Norway, they might be gaming. However, most of the existing gaming services no longer want anything to do with them. So what's a Russian to do?
70% of Russian gamers are pirates following Western publisher exodus.
I mean,
fair enough.
What source do they have? That's not, they always make, this is how I measure it for myself. And this is why I don't pirate games. Am I going to buy this anyway if it's not free? And if the answer is no, I don't feel bad about it. In their case, they can always say no, right? Because they can't buy it. And interesting that Tesla is blowing up in China. They're selling a lot of Tesla cars in China. And they kind of celebrate that. They wanted Musk to come into the country. They wanted those big factories and everything. But when the government gets involved, they're a little queasy about having those cars.
Tesla's banned from parts of Chinese city ahead of Xi visit, report.
Why? Because the cameras. Jinping does not want cameras looking at him.
Do not look me in the eyes.
Or anywhere. He said that there's going to be some sensitive things happening here. It's like what the World something or other game, World University Games.
Aren't there cameras in a lot of other cars beyond Teslas, though? What an odd one to single out. Or dash cam, no dash cams around.
I guess he thinks that much like TikTok, the Tesla feeds might end up back in the United States, right? Which
Probably.
Musk says that's not the case, but who can trust anything there? But here's a fun little, like, obvious hypocrisy. I mean, not that we need that to be illustrated, but
More reports that Hikvision, NVIDIA, is still involved in China ethnic surveillance. I thought it said ethnic, and then I was like, wait, what?
They have. Do they have? I think they have more cameras per capita now than England, right? They were neck and neck for a while, and he doesn't want to be surveilled. Interesting. The crazy thing about this is the Uyghur observation cameras and AI system, but this is not in the place where they usually surveil the Uyghurs. They're branching out into a new place,
finding whole new people groups to oppress.
So you got to think that the ultimate plan is for the system to be everywhere, right?
Well, obviously.
NVIDIA says no. NVIDIA says those must be older hardware, not fresh sales, because they would never sell anything to China.
Except when we can make money, in which case, then yeah, we'll sell to China.
And that would be a lot of money. And moving on to a little social media, of course, the big story in social media this week.
Well, this isn't the socials. Well, it is a social story, but it's a government story. Musk's Twitter rebrand X gets site blocked under Indonesian demonetized laws.
So that is just because in the past, X.com had been used for other purposes. So it was already on the list. And they have to go through some paperwork to get that undone. But the poor Indonesians were not able to satisfy their Twitter addictions for some amount of time.
Their X addictions.
You know what? You're right. We're not in social media
No,
yet.
this is security, I think.
But we're so close. Let's get through Australia first. And the new, they say that drone shows are more environmentally friendly than fireworks.
I would say that's true. Except for this case.
They're interesting. They can be impressive, but I usually I don't stay engaged to them long term. It's like, oh, that's 15 seconds of interest and then I'm moving on.
That's how I feel about fireworks most of the time too.
Probably true as well. These people had done hundreds of shows and everything was good until one fateful weekend.
Retrieval operation underway after hundreds of drones plunge into Melbourne's Yarra River.
They don't know why.
That video, it's like 30 seconds long, and at first it just shows them doing their formations, and then you see one go down, and then another, and then another.
Do you think they were tired of their slavery?
They're lying flat. I think they said too, though, that they failed the way that they're expected to, so they didn't just fall. They righted themselves as if to land on their feet, but because they were over water,
They were saluting as they went down.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some explanations as to what happened there. And Iran, they had a little uprising, if you'll recall. It was like 6 months ago, something like that. They, I think they killed a journalist or something, right? Because she wasn't wearing headgear. And people did not respond well to that. So they've been kind of laying low, but it seems like they're ready to get back in the game.
Iran shuts down biggest e-com company after female employees seen without hijab. Hijab.
And this wasn't just like them walking by and looking through the glass windows and being like, oh, they had some kind of event.
They got flagged because the photos were posted without them on.
Yeah. And the women might have been foreigners who were, at the event or whatever, but it doesn't matter. They describe this as, what's the name of this company? They describe it as the Iranian Amazon.
Yeah. It started with a D.
Digicala. Probably going to interrupt a lot of people's package deliveries. What if one woman was waiting for a delivery of her hijab to go outside and now she's never
Never going to get it. Can you just wear like a makeshift hat?
I think you could construct one out of almost any piece of cloth, right?
Or will tinfoil work? Because then you're dual purpose. You're protecting yourselves against the oppressive regime, but also the aliens.
Probably a little antisocial because you'd be out there in that sun and heat.
Ooh, it would
and
be.
It's just gonna be
It's reflecting
yeah.
on everybody. But then the cameras can't see you, so even better.
But they could just see this shining light that's moving through town, so easy to track. And tracking is what our overlords at Google want to do for us. And my God, this is terrifying.
Google's Nightmare Web Integrity API wants a DRM gatekeeper for the web. Look at this picture. This is a great photo.
I mean, it's pretty accurate. So they got this little thing here. That's
a little flow
a
chart.
little small. Can you read that?
No, not from back here.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what the idea here is that Google wants you to prove that you are who you say you are, but not just that you are who you say you are. They want to know about your operating system. And they don't want your operating system lying about what it is, or they don't want you using an operating system that doesn't play ball with their DRM and all their nonsense. So the whole idea of like Linux users not being able to play games because of anti-cheat, that's this for your web browser. They will expect you to go to a third party, have your browser scanned, get a token, just like you when you're doing two-factor authentication or OAuth, give that token to Google before they will give you any website content.
And they swear that this is not going to hurt like ad blocking or add-ons or anything like that, but it absolutely will.
Yeah, ad blockers will absolutely get you rejected from the confirmation, as will, as I said before, running any kind of alternate operating system.
They mentioned too, they're like, it's not going to hurt things like ad blocker, but then the stated goal for this project is to make advertising easier
and to track you more
efficiently,
accurately. In their mind, when they're talking about security, they're thinking about like, oh, people are stealing from us through the ad network, which is true. People are gaming that system all over the place. But in order to fix that, they have to ruin everybody else's experience. We should stand against that. I don't know how to tell you to stand against that.
Don't use Google stuff if you can help it, but I mean, that's hard.
And don't use this, but the Washington Post tells you, yeah, just go ahead and turn it on. Don't worry about it. It's good for you.
Oh, Google has an enhanced safe browsing feature. Should you use it?
Again, Washington Post, absolutely. Yeah. Just go turn it on. So what this is going to do is it's going to look at all the websites you visit and log them with Google. And it's going to compare them against Google's lists of bad things. So if you get, the idea is if you click on a phishing link that Google has ever seen before, they'll stop you from going to the phishing site. And I'm sure the CSAM stuff is in there. I'm sure they're looking for intellectual property violations. Basically, you're just inviting Google to look at it. Google is going to protect you from surveillance by building a shield of surveillance.
You try to go to Dropbox and it just redirects to Google Docs. Wait a minute.
And one of Wendell's favorite things, if Wendell was here right now, I guarantee you he'd do 2 minutes on the elliptic curve, because this is the exact same thing. This is cryptography that was purposely broken before it was ever made. But who did it? That's the big question.
Researchers find backdoor in encrypted police and military radios. Oops.
So there is a certain exploit that you can do to weaken this encryption down to the point where a standard current laptop can decrypt in almost real time. So they use these trunked communication systems so that people can't just turn on a radio and listen into them. But if you know this secret, you can do that.
The police scanner community is just excited right now.
Except these guys did not reveal the secret. But they claim it's not too hard to figure out. It's also interesting that this is Tetra, and there's a specific one, TEA1. That's the one that we export. So it seems like we might have been weakening foreign militaries against our ability to listen into them because we know the back door.
Mm. And now everyone else will too. Great.
Or, you know what? Maybe that came out of Europe.
I don't remember.
I don't know the who's who here, but someone was selling police and military radios that they could always listen to on the encrypted channels. And Sam Altman, when he is not controlling the robots, he's looking for ways to control humanity.
Sam Altman's WorldCoin eyeball scanning crypto project launches. Unsubscribe.
So he wants everybody to have some free cryptocurrency. All you got to do is give him your eyeball scan. And he envisions a world where, in order to distinguish people from robots, we have to have the eyeball scan. Much like Google says you have to use their stuff to protect yourself, he's saying the same thing here. Like, the future is so uncertain that you must establish your identity and share it with him.
Every day just disappearing out into the woods looks better and better.
And more unobtainable. Mm-hmm. Although, superconductivity, that could make your woods dream a lot
more attainable.
And Roblox, the problem with every one of these companies, of course, is they take all of our data and they mine it and they use it and then they lose it.
Roblox data leak sees 4,000 developer profiles, including identifying information, made public.
Now, you might think, well, Roblox, they got to authenticate you, right? They got billing information. They need to know who you are on some level. Except this was not that. This was the attendees to the Roblox convention.
I know how many of those are just 10-year-olds.
It's the developer convention, so maybe not that many, but it doesn't matter how many. It's why would you need to keep that? It was I think it was conference between 2017 and 2020. Why would you need it for 6 years?
Maybe you email those people again. Like, do you want to come to this year's? But
they're a lot more than emails.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the full trove of steal my identity. You know, they get all the information. T-shirt size.
I can't let anybody know what my t-shirt size is at store.level1text.com.
And another, like, you use something to spy, and then in turn, that is used to spy on you. It's a nice little situation, but unfortunately, a lot of these people didn't even know they were part of it.
Spy Hide Stalkerware is spying on tens of thousands of phones.
How do we know that? Because they had a leak.
Oops. Yet again, oops.
And inside the database is every website, every text message, every phone call, everything that these people did on their phones. In most cases, they don't even know it's there. What would you do if you found out you were being spyware?
Be upset.
It's not much of an action plan. It's just screaming in the void.
Wrap my phone in tinfoil.
And over in the UK, they have a plan that's probably a little bit worse than the New York license plate reader. But my God, Fleet News was gushing over this.
I got like 3 stories confused this week because there were so many of like horrible driving stories with AI mixed in.
Yeah, well, surveillance is kind of the overarching theme of everything.
Police urged to target dangerous drivers with drones. I can't imagine the insanity of that on the road.
So these guys, the cameras are so good that they can spot you and they can use software to determine your speed. And then right now, they're using this to dispatch actual police to your location. Of course, it can easily follow you and you're not going to outrun it. And but eventually, I'm sure they'll do the same thing New York does, which is just mail them a ticket.
Yeah.
Give us your money.
Another thing to disturb the peace. Because drones are noisy.
Look at these numbers. I don't know what the populations are in these places, but they love their speeding tickets. Terrifying. And I don't think this is the current Call of Duty, but I don't know the Call of Duty
we played COD Blops
version
Black
at all.
Ops.
I think this is one of the older ones.
Hackers are infecting Call of Duty players with the self-spreading malware.
Modern Warfare 2. Are we up to Modern Warfare 3?
I think so.
So these people who are hanging on the old game, which clearly isn't getting security updates, have now discovered that just being in the lobby can get you wormed.
Ooh.
We don't know exactly what the worm is trying to do other than find new victims, but it's out there. And I think they took the servers offline temporarily to try and deal with the situation.
Wow. They'll have to play BattleBit instead. I'm actually really enjoying Battle. I've played a little bit this week.
Are you able to do any better after playing for a while?
Yeah, I have better rounds. My KD is usually even at this point.
I had maybe 2 games where it was positive.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like I'm effective at that game.
I think just doing crazier things, like that's what I enjoy about that game, is you can just go crazy in it. And a lot of times, like, it becomes a game of what crazy strategy can I try next? Like, I was sniping with an RPG the other day, and it was effective because it was stupid. And that's what I like about that game.
You know what? You should get into American politics.
just get more absurd.
All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow with more excitement.
Yep.